Chinese, but for those who want to listen Hindi, you just have to select that channel because we didn't have the option on Zoom, but the audio it's gonna be Hindi.
Okay. Thank you. China is very close to us politically, socially, not much, but our forefather, late Prime Minister Nehru said, Hindi Chini Vai. So we are connecting Chinese as a Hindi for our audience. So thank you. That's great. No worries. Yeah. So we can start, or is there any formality from your end?
No, go on. It's perfect. Thank you very much for being here.
Okay, thanks a lot. Good morning. Some of them are very early morning. So hopefully we will able to, kind of some turbulence during our talk. So one can also wake up during our conversation. And we are very, very thankful to Civic City and our colleague RLS at Berlin and Paris and Geneva to connecting all those people who are committed to larger social rights and social justice. And this is the great time when we are celebrating 75th year of Declaration of Human Rights. So this will be no better place to talk about this and what is happening and how we can observe and how we can also move forward to reclaiming justice and dignity for people who are, marginalized historically in the current time. So I will just, introduce topic very briefly. What we are going to talk today. Our colleague, eminent colleague, four colleagues are there to talk about that. But before that, I will just, set brief about the topic which we are going to talk. Yesterday evening, we have already said we are going to talk about community discrimination in work and dissent, and it is the historical discrimination, and this is prevalent worldwide, and people are suffering almost all fronts, social, economic, and also the political participation. As for one UN data, 270 million people are identified as a discrimination based on work and dissent, and there are different shaded color and different region people are in this discrimination. Somebody are in the name of caste, some people are in the name of race, some people are in the name of gender, some are also the historically very far from some of the so-called very difficult region. So region-wise also people being historically discriminated. I will not talk more straight away. I will request our host organization to play a brief video, and then I will introduce panelists briefly, and then I will go to each and every panelist. We have our panelist Paul Divakar, Pirbhu, Satyani, Annamaria, and Alima Taal is here, and I will briefly share about them once we have share a 2 minutes video on CDWD communities. One can see the reflection through this 2-minute video, where this community and what kind of difficulty and what and how they are shaping their struggles.
The world is home to over 270 million on work and dissent. Discrimination based on work and dissent, DWD, is the UN terminology for systemic discrimination like slavery systems, including caste-based hierarchical systems in different parts of the world. This type of discrimination is pre- and post-colonialism and is rooted in the idea of purity and pollution. It manifests in practices such as casteism, untouchability, slavery, and anti-gypsyism. Discrimination based on work and descent is a unique form of inequality, where individuals are targeted not based on their appearance, but on their ancestral heritage and profession. Unlike racism, which is about hating people because of their skin color and looks, discrimination based on work and descent happens among people who are alike in some ways. These communities face a range of discriminatory practices, including restrictions on socio-economic, civil, political, and cultural rights. They are also subjected to notions of purity and pollution and are excluded from civic amenities such as education, health services, urban infrastructure, and access to justice. The discrimination faced by these communities often leads to violence, including assault, murder, rape, and false cases, especially when they resist discrimination and assert their rights and entitlements. Be it Roma in Europe, Quilombolas in Latin America, Dalits and Burakuman in Asia, or Heritin in Africa. The members of CDWD are often subjected to violence when they demand their rights and entitlements. Women, children, and members of the LGBTQ community of CWD are most vulnerable. However, these communities are fighting back and demanding their rights, including access to education, fair representation in the government institutions, the end of slavery and discrimination, and inclusion in policy-making and legal systems. They also demand access to financial resources, health services, and the right to own land and access to political participation and power. Let us stand in solidarity with these communities and work towards a world where everyone is treated with dignity and respect, equality and justice, regardless of their work and descent.
Thank you for broadcasting this video, friends. So now I will just briefly introduce our panelists. I will start from Paul Divakar, and very briefly, because while our speaker will speak, they will also speak, describe about themselves and also their struggle along with, so they can better, argue their own, status and their own history. So briefly, I will just explain. Paul Divakar is a human rights activist. He has been working for almost 4 decades in India on Dalit rights issue, and he is one of our leading activists, and he is kind of torch bearer for all of us to think about Dalit issue, and at the same time also connect with larger discrimination based on work and descent and otherwise discrimination. And he has been actively working with the UN framework to push the agenda of justice, social justice, economic justice, and political justice for marginalized community. So I will stop here, and Paul, our friend, will say more about him during his talk. Let me come to our other friend, Pirbhu Satyani. He is from Pakistan, and he is also in the forefront for talking about rights of the minorities in the Pakistan, and also at the same time he closely working with the system over there. He is currently also the member of the National Commission of Rights of Children, and he had established the Pakistan Dalit Solidarity Network in Pakistan, and he is very active in Asia Dalit Right Forum, and he has been contributing a lot. Our third panelist is Alima. She is young human rights defender from the Gambia, and she is very passionate about social justice and rights and dignity from women and girls coming from the community, and she is also contributing on the community's discrimination on work and descent. So I will also stop here. So Alima will talk when she will present her in the question hour session. Our last panelist is Annamaria. She is also the human rights activist and she is working in Slovakia, and she has been also very active in the question on CWD community in European context. So, and particularly anti-gypsying movement, she is contributing her so I will stop here for introducing our panelist. Right away, I will go to our first panelist, Pirbhu Satyani. He is from Pakistan, right? Like I had already shared. So Pirbhu, good morning. Welcome to you formally, and we are very happy to see you in this panel, and we know your contribution. So can you please share about yourself, like I had said earlier, and your work, and the question of the human rights related to your own activity, which is, of course, community discrimination work and dissent, about your Pakistan work. Over to you, Pirbhu.
Thank you very much, Tauqueer Ali, Sabri Saab, for the nice introduction and giving the background of this Zoom meeting. Dear participants, salam, namaste, good morning, Jai Bhim. First, I would like to thank you, G4 team and the Rosa Luxemburg Foundation for giving me this opportunity to speak on the issues of the, on this important occasion, the International Human Rights Day. And I wish you all the happy Human Rights Day. And I hope that that this day be the occasion to honor the CWD rights in the world. And let me also share that, today I have also completed my 20 years in the field of human rights, child rights, and the minority right. Let me share the, the little, you have already given my the introduction. Further, let me share that, my name is Pirbhu Satyani, and I am from Pakistan, and I belong to the very, the rural background from the desert area. And I am also the member of the National Commission on the Rights of Child and the Sindh Human Rights Commission on the Minorities. And I'm also the author of the small, the booklet, Plight of the Dalits in Pakistan, that was published in 2005. And then we, you already mentioned that we founded the Pakistan Dalit Solidarity Network. Let me share, the work that we are doing in Pakistan on the CWD and the Dalit in Pakistan. But if you see the, the context of Pakistan, that who are the communities discriminated based on work and descent in Pakistan, they are widely known as scheduled caste, like in other countries, in Nepal, India, maybe in Bangladesh. But in mostly they are from the Hindu background, the Hindu scheduled caste. But apart from that, there are also from the Christian faith, those who are working as a janitors, sanitary workers. And also there is a small section within the Muslims, like a fisherman, caste from the Machi, Khaskeli, and other communities. And some of them also converted from the Hindu scheduled caste, are also known as the Sheikh or Musli. They are also described as a part of the CDWD. But in Pakistan, we haven't touched to these community, and we have focused, on only on the communities from the Hindu background and the Christian sanitation worker. Like other countries, like in India, there are so many movements and the organization who are actively working in on the caste and the CDWD community issues, like in Nepal. But the case of Pakistan is quite different. If I recall my work on this issue, 20 years back, if I remember, in 2003, I started my career in the field of development, and I joined one of the national organizations who was working on the human rights issues, particularly, the laborers, minorities, and all these. And I was looking after the minority program on that time, and we were doing the research on the minority issues. And while researching on the minority issues, we came to know that, within the minority, there is also a minority that they are known as a Dalit. But in Pakistan, if we see, on that time, we saw that, we couldn't find the much literature on them, and these communities are isolated, excluded. There was no discussion, though there was a discussion on the minority issue, but there was no specific discussion on the caste issue. So that issue, that came into discussion, though I knew the issue, but I raised with my organization.
जब हमने इस पर शोध शुरू किया और हमने बात किया, जो कोई भी देश मैंने ज़ियारत किया और देखा, और मैंने उस पर
research, but it was a kind of, the one of the publication that
préparer une publication dont j'ai parlé, la publication que j'ai fait en 2005.
There was a SARC conference in India, Delhi, and I was there as a panelist, and I spoke on the minority issues and also on the caste issue, where I met with Paul Divakar, as I remember. And then, I came to know about the hundreds of organizations who were working on the caste issue in India at the global level. And I came to know about them, and then, we had a good networking with a number of organizations. And at that time, in Pakistan, the term Dalit was quite new. We used to call the scheduled caste, but later, in 2006, as I remember, we had a World Social Forum, and we received the good colleagues from India and other countries who were working on the caste issue. And Taal and his team came in Pakistan, and we organized the Dignity Forum in the country in Karachi. And we just, shared that we are organizing this type of conference, and we would like the Dalit community should participate. And, with our one instruction, and we saw that thousands of people from the Dalit community background who used to work in the garment industry in Karachi and other cities, they came and joined. They were eager that someone should speak on their issues. And before that, there was no as such, this kind of activity, or there was no discussion. So this was, that sparked us and motivated us that we should do something. And then I can remember that in 2007, we had a very comprehensive study on the Dalit issues, and that is long behind schedule. Many of you are aware of that. And that was supported by the International Dalit Solidarity Network and one of the other organizations based in India. And the key findings of this, that research studies are quite interesting. If I share with you that, we came to know that, 80% people from the Dalit community, they live in the rural areas, and 84% were landless. And they had a number of issues because of they had a rural background, they were landless, though many of them were trapped in the bonded labor. And when they were bonded labor, of course, they were the weak. Their women and girls were subjected to rape, abuse, forced conversion. There were a number of incidents. And the poverty was, was higher in this community. And again, we found that, in the literacy rate, the 74% people were illiterate. Only the 15% within the Dalit community were primary pass, and 4% were matric, and 4%, and only the 1% was in the higher education and the graduate. And again, we came to know about there so many the health issues, the discrimination, the number of incidents where they shared that the doctor and nurse refused to touch their bodies because they were from the polluted community background, so like that. And again, they had no housing, and discrimination in the public place was common. And almost, in the Sindh, mostly the Dalits are in the Sindh province and the South Punjab. And South Punjab, the discrimination was higher than the Sindh because their number was a little less than the Sindh province. So these are these are the key findings that we came to know about this community. And but then soon, I can remember that in 2007, we launched the Pakistan Dalit Solidarity Network. And the uniqueness of this PDSN is that this network is still a non-funded network. And we, few friends, myself and Sonu Kangrani and Zulfikar and some others, we are giving our volunteer time. We work with the different organization and different profession, but the Dalit issue is our passion. And we are raising up the issue since that. And the PDSN, then that, we came to know about the ADRF, we connected with the IDSN, and with the ADRF and IDSN, we started a lobby with the national level, at the international level, at the regional level. I can still remember that we submitted a number of stakeholder reports like a UPR, and the first time of UPR in 2008, and I was drafting that report. And then we, then on that time, it came into discussion in the UN Human Rights Council, and the government of Pakistan, they declined, that there is no caste discrimination in the Pakistan. Pakistan is an Islamic country, and that teaches about the equality like that. But we received a couple of the recommendations from the other countries, and we also submitted the report like the SIRD report, the CEDA, the CRC, and so many other things. We had a number of the press conference on the various issues on the caste within the country, and there were other engagement, like we did lobby with the EU and the UN mission countries, the other, the UN reporters, and number of the one or two I can remember that they visited Pakistan, and we briefed them. Even in that from recently, we also, whenever there is any discussion, some of the people trying to track, they highlight the Dalit issues in the country. But in this, so far, whatever we have done in the last, the 15 or 20 years, the issues are still many, but there is a little progress, that I can say. Like, earlier, the attitude of the government was the government was in denial position, but now they are accepting this issue that there are Dalit community and face discrimination. And within the Pakistan, if you see, now we have a number of human rights commission, like we have commission on the human rights, we have commission on the women, we have child rights commission, and we have a good number of the people from the Dalit background. They are the member of these commissions. Like myself was appointed by the Prime Minister of the country, considering my work on the Dalit issue. Similarly, we have other, the members who are from the similar background. They are also the Human Rights Commission member. And also the commissions, they are taking up the issues. The issue of forced conversion, the issue of sanitation workers. These commissions are giving the space to this community. And similarly, if we see the political participation, maybe 20 years ago, we didn't know any member in the National Assembly or the Provincial Assembly. But recently, the government of Pakistan, the one of the Pakistan People's Party, they chose one of the lady who was from the Dalit background as a senator. And then we had 2 senators in the Senate. And also in the provincial assemblies, we have one of the advisors from the Dalit background. He is the advisor to the chief minister. And at the local level, the number of the, the Dalit women, they contested the election of the local body, and 2 of the ladies, they were selected as a vice chairperson in one of the districts. So this whole, what I'm saying, that whatever the debate we initiated, ultimately the people who were active, they got somehow space. And the issue of, again, if you allow me 1 minute, then, just give me one minute. Yeah.
We will come in the second round, Pirbhu. You can just, conclude in 30 seconds, if possible.
Yeah, I'm just, raise one of the issue that was the sanitation worker. They face so many challenges, and there was the biased advertisement in the newspaper that they need only the non-Muslims for the sanitation worker. But once we raise this issue, and now there is no more discrimination, at least in the at the institution level. But in practice, they are the sanitation worker. But at least whenever is there any issue we raise, there is a response. So that I wanted to share, and if there is any other round, then I can share the other,
Thank you, Pirbhu, for sharing your own struggle and also a struggle of CWD community in Pakistan, which is very important. The large number of minorities are there who has been facing different kind of discrimination. And with your work under the various framework, you are able to navigate and we are able to get justice, and hopefully you will continue to get justice for more people. Now I will, we are slightly running late, so we will have to also keep the time. Earlier we have allotted in the first round for 10 minutes. So if possible, we will stick 8 minutes. That will be benefit for all of us for better conclusion. So I will not take any time more. I will straight away go to our friend Alima. Good morning, Alima, from India, and hope you are fine. Probably this will be early morning for you, and can you please share about your own struggles and your fight for human rights activity, which is linked to the community discriminated on work and descent, specifically in Gambia, for this round. Over to you.
Thank you. It's actually early morning here. My name is Alima Taal. I'm a human rights activist and a rights expert for the communities discriminated on work and descent. I'm from the Gambia, West Africa. I'm very pleased to be here in the commemoration of the 75th anniversary of the UN Declaration of Human Rights. The Global Forum of Communities Discriminated on Work and Descent, what we do is we work towards the full realization of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, especially those of the communities discriminated on work and descent. We also work by the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. As a rights expert for the Global Forum of Communities Discriminated on Work and Descent, in the Gambia, research was done through the help of the Global Forum of Communities Discriminated on Work and Descent. And as a result of that research, we found out that class conflict in the Gambia is a long-standing issue. As some of these communities, they are referred to as slaves. In my language, Wolof language, we call them jam. And the others, the leather workers are referred to as ude. Some are referred to as blacksmiths, and some are also referred to as griot. They are praise singers. In the Gambia, the CDD community are subjected to perform certain manual jobs and tasks requiring manual labor. Those regarded as their masters or the nobles, or they call them freeborns. Whenever they have a traditional ceremonies, such as naming ceremonies or wedding ceremonies or funeral, the people they refer to as slaves will be invited to carry out such tasks like slaughtering animals, exchange for cash or some other rewards, or sometimes they won't be even rewarded at all. When village activities or slaves were asked to go to the ground blowing horns or to urge them to inform, like they are communicators, to inform the villagers to attend. All these human and social rights violations existed in the ancient Gambia, African society, and still exist in today's Gambian society in a form of modern slavery. Till today, in the Gambia, in Upper River region, the social segregations are carried out. Those communities discriminated on work and descent are denied social amenities. Sometimes they have separate graveyards, and they are also denied public taps. Those called the nobles will given priority in terms of getting access to water, and then when they are done, or then when they are satisfied, then those those discriminated will be asked to do so. Those members of the discriminated community are not allowed to intermarry with those called the freeborns or the nobles or the upper class. Yes, these are the social limitations faced by the communities discriminated on work and descent in the Gambia. Yes, this is what I have for the first round. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alima, for your sharing about yourself and your work. Good morning, Annamaria from India. And I will go to the Annamaria. Hope you are fine, Annamaria. So please share about yourself and also your work related to community discriminated on work and descent about your Slovakia, and you are very active also in anti-Gypsy movement and all against the discrimination. So over to you, Annamaria.
Thank you for the floor. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone, depending on your time zone. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude for the opportunity to speak here today. I am Annamaria Pšenková from Slovakia, and I represent Roma community here today. Apart from that, I am also a human rights activist with a profound background in political science. I am a right expert of the Global Forum of Communities Discriminated on Work and Decent, and additionally, I've been actively engaged in fostering positive change as an intern with Ergo Network, an organization committed to bringing the gap between grassroots realities and policy making for the Roma community. Being a part of the European Roma grassroots organization and having the privilege to work as a right expert for the Global Forum of Communities Discriminated on Work and Decent, I have put together a report on the status of Roma in Slovakia. This report maps Roma communities in the country to increase awareness of the challenges faced by the Roma in Slovakia. The report not only highlights the societal issues, but also emphasizes the potential for possible change. Today, I stand before you as a voice for the Roma minority, the largest ethnic minority in Europe, comprising 10 to 12 million individuals whose rights are not secured on every level. We cannot turn a blind eye to the fact that fundamental human rights, such as safe and affordable housing, is systematically denied to Roma people. The roots of the housing crisis within Roma communities are entangled with worsening discrimination on a national level in European countries. As an evidence, a European Commission study reveals that 43% of Roma, which is almost half of them, face discrimination when attempting to buy or rent a home. In recent years, the Roma have experienced forced eviction leading to homelessness in several European countries. This is a humanitarian crisis that demands our urgent attention. But housing is just at the tip of the iceberg. In education, we are witnessing massive segregation, with some states like Slovakia creating special schools or classes exclusively for Roma children. It's a common practice. Roma children are unfairly labeled as intellectually retarded by doctors, despite being physically and mentally healthy. The struggles faced by Roma people extend into the sphere of employment and healthcare as well. Many Roma women face difficulties getting proper medical care, and some experience racism from hospital staff. Finding a job is also a tap for them due to discrimination and bias. The harsh reality of the police brutality against Roma communities cannot be ignored as well. We vividly recall the violent police raid on Romani neighborhood in Slovakia in 2013, leaving over 30 Roma individuals, including children and people with disabilities, injured. And another case saw Romani children subjected to abuse by Slovak police, resulting in condemnation by the European Court for Human Rights. Yet the challenges do not end there. In some countries, we are fighting with the awful legacy of forced sterilization. This dark chapter in our history demands our proper recognition and just compensation. The fight for official acknowledgement also extends to the horrors of slavery and Roma Holocaust. These are not isolated accidents, but daily struggles faced by Roma communities across Europe. It is our collective responsibility to confront this injustice, to amplify the voices of the marginalized, and to advocate for a future where every individual, regardless of their background, enjoys the full spectrum of human rights. For years and years, we've been saying that the time to solve world issues is now, that the time to end discrimination and slavery and injustice is now, that the time to build a better future is now. Yet it feels like our calls have become cliché and the promise now never truly arrives. Therefore, we must actively champion the Universal Declaration for Human Rights and elevate its significance from the international level to the national and local levels. Our voices need to resonate beyond rhetorics. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights plays a crucial role in shaping legislation, policies, and institutions at national and international levels. It is a foundation upon which nations build legal structures and safeguard the inherent rights and dignity of their citizens. Yet, its relevance extends beyond legal frameworks, as we know. The UTC is a catalyst for education and awareness, fostering the deep understanding of human rights. It empowers individuals to become advocates for justice, and it convinces us that each of us has a role to play in upholding the principles it embodies. And that's the reason why we are constantly referring to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and why we are standing and speaking about the problems of particular countries or regions in the international community. The violation of human rights of any kind of minority or a group is a matter of humanity. It goes beyond countries, it goes beyond Roma, it goes beyond Slovakia. We cannot turn our back and pretend that this is not our problem. Human rights are the heritage of every single one of us. Therefore, I believe that it's time to turn our shared vision on a just and equitable world into reality, and let us not settle for the illusion of now, or the illusion of that's not our problems, but actively work towards the future where the principle of human rights are not just spoken, but upheld everywhere. Thank you. This is my first part in this panel.
Thank you. Thank you, Annamaria, for explaining very clearly for our audience and also for me. So I will now go to the Paul Divakar, our next panelist this round. We are almost 5 or 7 minutes behind the schedule, but we will hopefully able to manage that. So Paul, good morning, very warm welcome to you for this important event, and you are also kind of, contributed to organize this event, and congratulations and thanks a lot for doing that. So please share about yourself. We know many things about you, but our audience will be very happy to know about your own struggles and how you are able to fight this human right battle in India on connecting community discriminated on work and dissent globally. Over to you, Paul.
Thank you very much, Tauqueer. Thanks to Rosa Luxemburg Stiftung for organizing this consistently, the third global social nights, especially in the context of the 75 years of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I'm Paul Divakar, as you have already introduced me. I'm the global convener of the Global Forum of Communities Discriminated on Work and Dissent. What is this Global Forum? Global Forum of Communities Discriminated on Work and Dissent, I will refer to it as GFOD, especially to save the time, is a platform to voice the rights and entitlements of the communities across the continents, especially Africa, Asia, Europe, Latin America, and North America. We aim for full realization of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and also now in the context of the Sustainable Development Goals. We have founded in 2019 to ensure that these widely dispersed communities, you've just heard Pirbhu from Pakistan, Alima from Gambia, Africa, Annamaria from Europe, and we are not able to hear Versalini and others, but Thais is there from Brazil, and widely dispersed communities. And we have banded ourselves together as communities who are discriminated on work and descent. And who are they? We are marginalized through generations. And these are pre-colonial forms of slavery, systems of slavery or systems of hierarchy that are specifically forced into forms of work which have treated us as polluted communities, purity polluted. And in India, you may have heard of this word, untouchables, and in Roma, the whole phenomena of anti-gypsyism, so that you undervalue the communities. In Africa, these are pre-colonial systems of slavery, which are still consisting and consistently existing in even today, and have actually formed a core part of the transatlantic slavery, which is not recognized, and also systems, or as you have seen in Brazil and Colombia. The consequences of this marginalization are unjust deprivation and systemic exclusion from social relationships, from communication, education, and all the government entitlements like health, access to water, sanitation, even employment, and sometimes voting rights, access to land. And whenever we assert, as you have seen in the initial first first video clip, there is violence. There's a very extreme backlash of violence teaching us, you have to stay as a slave, even though it is garbed under, most of these countries are democratic nations. These types of social structures have evolved and functioning for centuries, and they have inflicted systemic violence on us. Whether it's Harati in Sahel, Forgeron in West Africa, Bantu in Sudan, Roma, Gypsy, Sinti in several other derogatory terms that are used for communities in Europe. Buraku in Japan is another. Dalits all over South Asia, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Nepal, and also Kilambola and Palenque in South America. We number 270 million, you have said this number, and Tauqueer, if we are together in one place, we will be the 6th or 7th largest nation in this world. Just to briefly say, I myself come from the Dalit community in India, and in India, we have systems. There is a recognition in the constitution, right after the independence, and the whole system has been abolished, and several mechanisms have been put in place. But still, there is a rising caste-based violence. Just to give you some statistic, from 2017 to 2020, where the official statistics are available, 42,969 crimes have been committed against this as per the government records. So which means for every recorded crime, we believe there are at least 10 crimes that have not been recorded or registered because there is a resistance at the duty bearer level. And this includes offenses of rape, attempt to murder, assault, and outrage of modesty, kidnapping, abduction, and including murders. Now, there is still modern slavery, forced slavery, and multiple studies have brought this up that are still existing. And there's torture or cruel, inhuman, degrading treatment or punishment, and there's arbitrary detention and arrests that are still going on. This police subjected to entire Dalit community. There is a community called denotified communities, and they're arbitrarily assigned. So I can quote several such things. There are a disproportionate number of under trials among the Dalits in the country. And the protection of minorities, especially those who have chosen a different religion, Dalits, some of us have chosen Christianity, some of us have chosen Islam, but the protective measures are not pertain to these communities. Then the exclusive courts have been set up, but many of them have not yet been functional in several cases. So the implementation of the rehabilitation of some of the acts like bonded labor, manual scavenging are still to be completely implemented. And there are several other provisions which are still have the caste prejudice that are there. In the higher education, there is an exclusion. And these are still barriers that need to be addressed. And really, I think that is the reason why we felt that while still struggling and advocating for our rights in country, we are also networking ourselves together across the globe in order to have a UN standard, a norm, which gives, which recognizes us and also ensures there is protection and promotion, active promotion of our rights at the global level. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. It's important point you have raised, like how power dominates and persecutes always to the marginalized, and this is not this is a better time to talk today to International Human Rights Day, and this persecution, execution, and is still going on despite of this framework, and we have to work more and talk more and write more about justice and dignity for community who are persecuting and who are not able justice globally. So thanks a lot for giving broad perspective on this community. So now I will go to again Pirbhu for the second round. First, thanks a lot everybody for sharing your inputs for the first round. So Pirbhu, hope you are there. Thanks a lot for your comment and the first round. Sorry, I was stopping you due to time keeping. So second round, we have around 7-8 minutes time for you to respond. So can you please explain about your role and your work on Asia Dalit Rights Forum, because you are also like rightly said in your first round, you came here in one of the conferences in SAARC, and you met various colleague activists, like also you met the Paul Divakar, and now we are also actively working as for this Asia Dalit Rights Forum as very active member. So can you explain this work related to the human rights, justice, and how it's linked to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights? Over to you, Pirbhu.
Thank you, Tauqueer. I think first, whatever we are discussing, that you have mentioned that 270 million people worldwide, with the majority residing in the South Asia. So I think it's better first to speak on the the role of the ADRF, though the Taal may share the more, but I can just reflect, since we are part of the ADRF, and the ADRF, I guess the only, the regional, whatever we say, the South Asia or Asia level is a platform where we can, do the advocacy and, raise the issues of Dalit communities in the way of the various countries. Other than that, we have a, SAARC. I came to SAARC meeting in 2005, but since that, I'm not aware, what the SAARC is doing. So apart from that, the ADRF and the IDS, and these are the platforms that take up the issues of, the cost-affected countries like us in Pakistan. I don't know when ADRF was conceived. Maybe Paul can share in the 2004, like, in the World Social Forum in India, like from there, and then they formalize it, that they shaped it, and we became the part of it. And actually the purpose of the ADRF is to address the common challenges of the socially excluded groups in South Asia. And it is the only the platform that work to empower the socially excluded and safeguard their rights and entitlements in the South Asia countries. And the ADRF, also assisting in the capacity building and that I already mentioned in the Pakistan. We do work and while we do not have any such, the formal structure, but through the support of the ADRF, we had a number of research studies on the range of issues, and we also get the opportunity to submit our reports at the various forum, like at the EU level or the UN level or the SDGs. All these things, these are taken up through the support of the ADRF. But whatever we have done, again, I can say that there is a little impact of this work. We had a lot of debate within the country. The number of the Dalit community in Pakistan is very less in the census. That is, in 1998 census, the number was quite small, that 330,000 like that. But recently, whatever we had a census in the last 2-3 years, and the government of Pakistan, they have included separate column for the scheduled caste in the census. So we can count the actual number. Once we have a number, then of course we do our advocacy for the development and the rights, all these things. And we do have Pakistan is an over-legislated country. We have laws to prohibit forced and bonded labor and slavery practices in Pakistan, though the implementation is still poor, but at least we do have a laws. And then there are other, the Supreme Court judgment on the minority issues, the job quota reform, the curriculum. In the curriculum, there was hate, and also the task force. There should be a commission on the minorities. All these, the steps or whatever we have, the progress within the country, that is the result of somehow the PDS or the ADRF, the IDS, and whatever we have raised this issue. Otherwise, I can still remember when we first time submitted the UPR report, the government was reluctant to accept this issue, but now we have somehow the progress. But still there are so many issues, like I can say that like in India or in Nepal, the caste discrimination or untouchability is prohibited. But in the Pakistan, like Sri Lanka or the Bangladesh, there is no as such the specific law. So we can again raise this issue through the platform ADRF. So we should have. But apart from that, I was also thinking that with the support of ADRF, we can also demand, there should be some kind of the declaration at the UN level, though we have a declaration that cover the issues of the minorities, the other, the ethnic or linguistic minorities, but there is no as such, the mechanism where we can, we can at least, we can, ask from there, we can make them accountable. So there should be. And also some of the initiatives that need to be taken up, like there should be the affirmative action for the development. There should be the targeted budget for the excluded groups. Otherwise, we cannot uplift this community. And also the SARC, we can see how the SARC can play their role. We do have a sustainable development goal, but I don't know how much these are inclusive. We can also ask them that it should be equitable, and the goals and the target, whatever we have progress, we need to measure where is our share, what is the progress to address the issues of these communities, CDWD communities. Though we have the one of the slogan, no one is left behind. Of course, I think now we should, otherwise the approach that we should focus and target to this community. And similarly, I can still remember, 10, 15 years ago, there is a draft of the UN principle and guidelines for the elimination of the discrimination based on work and descent. That document is still pending. Might be, I think, if the Dalit rights matters to anyone in the UN, then they should, I think, adopt this document. So these are the areas I think we can look into it. And with this support, using the platform of ADRF, we can, the demand on this day, International Human Rights Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Pirbhu, for giving a brief about work of ADRF. Since you have not touched the history of ADRF, being a student of history, I can just give a brief about ADRF. Was the outcome of 2001 conference of Durban in 2001, and then they kind of shaped in informal group in 2004, and then emerged as a 2007-13 as a solidarity group, and after that it's history. It's very strong group. Paul can add later. So thank you, Pirbhu, for your inputs. Now I will go to Alima. Hi, Alima. Thanks a lot for your contribution in the first round. So can you please tell about CWD community in context of the Africa, and how this is affecting or working in civil society movement, and what we can learn from the African experience to strengthen our struggle across world, on how can one make a better solidarity to fight for justice for marginalized community.
Thank you. In Africa, discrimination takes in a form of slavery that is passed through the maternal line, effectively trapping individuals into relationships of servitude out of which they cannot escape, which regulate them to life of bonded labor and slavery, catering to whims of their masters. Such forms of slavery can still be found in West African countries like Mali, Mauritania, Niger, Burkina Faso, Senegal, even the Gambia here, and Chad. For example, in Mali, according to statistics from 2021, 800,000 slaves were identified, spread across the countries, in particular across the terrains. They are known as the Polar, the Soninke. Slave has not yet been outlawed rather, in Mali, with a draft legislation bill pending within the government since 2014. The descent-based slavery is contrary to international and regional laws. In particular, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights, the International Covenant of Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, the African Charter on Human and People Rights. We need for institutions and civil society organizations to learn to appropriate the declaration to strengthen their struggles. We need to advocate for the recommendations of the CDDWD community's findings. For example, in April, I myself read a statement on behalf of the Global Forum of Communities Discriminated on Work and Dissent on the NGO forum, the African Commission for Human and People's Rights, and some recommendations were given, and a colleague, a chief of staff, was also last October also gave a resolution on the African Commission for Human and People's Rights. So this appropriates that can help to overcome the discrimination based on work and design in Africa. And the work won't stop, and the advocacy won't stop. For social, for Africans to have access to social rights, we won't stop. We will make sure they have access to quality service, access to education, access to healthcare service, access to protection, access to housing, employment, and access to rights for minority groups. Social rights is so important in one's life. They are moral and legal secular rules and understanding of what's necessary for fulfillment of people's social needs and to promote social inclusion and social solidarity. Social rights concern how people live, work together for their basic necessity of life. They are based on ideas, quality, guarantee access to essential and social economic goods and services and opportunities. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Alima, for your inputs. Now I will go to Annamaria. Hello, Annamaria. So can you please share about the status of CDW community in Europe in terms of achieving rights through UN declaration?
Yes, thank you for the floor.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah.
I would like to highlight the progress in Europe towards the integration of the Roma minority. Member states of the European Union are actively working together to address this issue. And the European Union Roma Strategic Framework for Equality, Inclusion and Participation, supported by the European Commission and Council, exemplifies their commitment to this cause. This initiative is based on integrating the European Union recommendations into the national strategies of the member states. The main aim is to improve living conditions for the Roma people at the regional and local levels. The European Commission has initiated several projects across the continent to promote the integration of the Roma community. And I'm very happy to share some noteworthy practices, particularly those championed by my organization, Ergo Network, but also by the organization and initiatives in Europe. In Ergo Network journey, transnational cooperation among member states organization has been greatly evident in various projects, including the project New Solution to All Problems. This project was founded by the European Environmental Agency and Norway grants, focused on exchanging innovative approaches to Roma integration. In the pursuit of the awareness, we've chosen the powerful medium of storytelling to showcase exemplary local projects. And I would like to really highlight two of such projects, one from Turkey and one from Lithuania, that show the potential of targeted initiatives. In Turkey, the project centered around the empowerment and solidarity against domestic violence, addressing the significant challenges Roma women face. Through organized meetings over 8 weeks, the project facilitated discussion on women's rights and protection mechanisms, resulting in increased self-confidence and growing sense of empowerment among participants. On the other hand, in Lithuania, the unique approach was adopted to focus on cultural elements, specifically dance, as a tool for successful integration. By organizing dance classes that brought together both Roma and non-Roma individuals, prejudices were shattered while mutual understanding and communication between these two communities were fostered. Additionally, the Roma Youth Kicking of the Decade to Counter Anti-Gypsyism project empowered young Roma across 8 Central and Eastern European countries to campaign against anti-Gypsyism. Anti-Gypsyism is a form of a specific racism directed at those perceived as gypsies. The project's impact was evident in the Summer Academy that equipped youth to implement awareness projects on the national level, fostering dialogue between Roma and non-Roma communities. This initiative remained, and since then we organized several workshops for youth to become ambassadors of the Decade Against Anti-Gypsyism. Further, Ergo Network also has been instrumental in the Roma Graduate Program, Preparation Program, and the Central European University, which is a transformative 10-month initiative preparing Roma graduates for a master-level course. This program, along with the Romani Studies program, exemplifies our commitment to empower Roma individuals with the skills and knowledge needed to navigate academic challenges. There is another case showing that there have been some progress made. In Slovakia is one of the countries where the word gypsy is usually used by non-Roma people to label Roma. In the dictionary of the contemporary Slovak language, the word has its own meaning, that in our language stated specifically that the gypsy is a person who lies and steals. Roma advocacy and research program pushed to change the term gypsy in the dictionary of the contemporary Slovak language And after a long battle, the Ludovic III Institute of Linguistics has accepted their request and changed the entry Gypsy. Even if it might be considered as a small step, it can have a huge impact considering Roma communities in Slovakia. The rhetorics that are used are part of the created narrative in our society, which is built upon hatred towards Roma people. Therefore, changing the narrative step by step is extremely important. In closing, I will also highlight the inspiring work of the OMAMA organization in Slovakia, where the peer-to-peer learning model has proven effective in educating and leading Roma children and youth. By leveraging the expertise of educated individuals within the community, this program challenges discriminatory practices in education. This initiative, though part of the long battle, signifies a promising start towards Roma integration. I would like to celebrate these accomplishments, but we cannot forget our commitment to recognize anti-Gypsyism as a specific form of racism as defined by the European Commission and the European Parliament, and to foster society that values equality, inclusion, and participation for all. Thank you once again for listening.
Thank you, Annamaria, for your inputs, and we are able to understand, like in Paul, in his remark, he also notified there's a community in India we call denotified tribes. So they are also being identified during the colonial period by the British ruler. In the same terminology, same suspect. They were the people whose name were already registered at the police station. So whatever crime is being happened or done by anybody, they will be the first who will call and being suspected. And people are still far behind the development process, and many people like Paul and others are working for rights and dignity of all denotified tribes. And so we are able to understand how and what you are fighting for. Our solidarity with you, and hope we will connect again. So now we will be connecting to the Paul. Hello, Paul. Welcome again for next round of the questions. Could you, there's one section also you can add, if possible, regarding your Latin American work, because nobody representing from there. But besides that, you can share about what CWD concerned and initiative taken globally at the UN level, and what one can learn from for institutions, civil society, and movement to appropriate the discrimination of declaration of human rights to strengthen our struggles. Over to you, Paul.
Thank you very much, Tauqueer, and friends across the world. Let me see, I think we have about 14 to 15 minutes. So let me initially spend a few times. Am I okay with that, Tauqueer?
Yeah.
Okay. A few minutes on these communities which are termed as Quilombola and Palenque. They are in Latin America, Quilombola in Brazil, and Palenque in Colombia. These are communities which are referred to as descendant of Africa, who have been brought in terms of slavery. And though these and they have been very much associated with the history of resistance against these forms in these countries, both these countries, and I think they are across the continent. We've not had the resources, human and financial and time, to be able to link with all of them. But currently, we are very much in touch with the Confederation of Quilombola communities across Brazil, and they are very much part of a very contributing member of the Global Forum of Communities Discriminated on Work and Dissent. The Brazilian constitution recognized the rights of these communities, especially to the land ownership, but it has not been sufficiently implemented. And there have been several struggles, and recently a very renowned activist has been murdered while she has been trying to access and campaign for the rights. You have two specific legislations, the 1988 Constitution, which specifically looks at the land ownership to these communities, and also which looks at the 2003 Statute of the City, which is called, and rights of these Quilombola communities in the urban settlements. They still face challenges, including discrimination, socioeconomic disparities, limited access to education, healthcare, employment, basic amenities, and they are additionally burdened with the historical prejudices that are still affecting the communities, like the other communities that we have just heard, whether it's in Alima was sharing about the Africa, and Annamaria about the communities of Roma, Gypsy, Sinti in Europe, and Dalits of Asia. And the Palenque communities are mostly associated with Colombia, and similarly they have also have the African descent, and there have been efforts to recognize and support Palenque communities, domestically in Colombia. But each of these communities, whether it's Quilombola in Brazil or Palenque in Colombia, they have a unique history, cultural practices, and they face these challenges of discrimination on work and dissent. So what is it that we are trying to look at? I think one, we are still, while we are struggling in and waging several areas of struggle and advocacy in our own countries, and we are presently in 21 countries across the world, we are still looking at a uniform UN mechanism which looks at identification and which looks at special protective measures. Now, why is Universal Declaration of Human Rights very important to us, especially from the CDWD rights? One, it looks at equality, equal dignity and rights. And this is very clear, we need to recognize and respect the dignity of every person. So there is no lesser human being. And I think this kind of a thing cannot be done away with the legislation. Of course, there's a lot of cultural, religio-cultural, social aspects, but still a legislation or a UN norm can legitimize our struggles at each of our countries. Then the whole aspect of non-discrimination, which is there in the Universal Declaration, which gives the right to education, right and ensure freedom from social exclusion, right to work and just conditions of employment, right to access justice systems, and then the whole aspect of culture and religious rights, empowerment and representation, and especially access to budgetary resources. I mean, all these rights are just on paper if we don't have resources to ensure that there are mechanisms and also institutions in each of our countries to be able for these communities to reach out and ensure they exercise their rights. So one thing, what we are very critically engaging with both the regional bodies and the UN. Recently, we had a panel and we had engaged with the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. in Arusha in Tanzania. And we feel that this panel had advocated for a resolution to be passed by the Human Rights, Africa Human Rights and People's Human and People's Commission. What is that? We said the state parties must acknowledge the existence of discrimination based on work and descent as a distinct form of discrimination that deserves the attention of the African community in Africa and also globally by the UN. I think this is very important. Most of the barring a few countries in Asia and one or two in, of course, in Europe, and then one or two in Africa, most of the countries have not had an official recognition to this form. If you don't have a recognition, then this completely underflows every other form of rights, as we have seen, whether it's education, whether the land rights, whether health rights or civic rights. So one, the recognition is very critical. And then we need to ensure that the states take special measures, constitutional, legislative, administrative, budgetary, judicial, educational, and social measures to eliminate discrimination based on work, because this is very deeply ingrained. This is not just a colonial form. This is pre-colonial forms. Even in Africa, of course, very much in Asia, definitely in a place like Europe, which is supposed to have given to the broad human rights phenomena to the entire world, is still having these forms which is inflicting a particular form of human rights violations against Roma people. So I think it is very necessary that these, it's not only measures at the legislative, constitutional, legislative, but also administrative, budgetary, judicial, and education is very, very critical. And they need to be implementing this, I think, and we need to ensure that they promote, restitute, implement, and monitor the human rights that are facing our communities. Then we are also urging state parties in collaboration with the national human rights institutions. See, till recently, leave alone human rights institutions, the human rights organizations, the civil society and the NGO human rights bodies have not recognized this form of human rights violation as, or this form of violation as a human rights violation. You find the same thing with the gender rights. Only in the last 2-3 decades, I think gender rights have been regarded as part of the human rights. But still, communities discriminated on work and descent. Our rights, I have discussed with people in Asia, in Africa, in Europe, they're not recognizing these as human rights violations. And this is an aspect. So the human rights mechanisms, national human rights institutions, civil society organizations, and human rights belonging to these communities need to be promoted, need to be supported. And these notions, whatever these forms of untouchability, pollution, inferiority on the basis of descent, need to be addressed very clearly. And then I think states will have to carry out study. NGOs have been doing it. Movements like us have been doing it, but the states have not yet fully taken. I was really encouraged when the Cameroon National Human Rights Commission, Commissioner Buba, has explicitly requested us together to work with them to take a study on these in Cameroon. So I think this sets a thing. And then we have also requesting both the African states as well as at the UN, we would like to establish a working group on discrimination based on work and descent. I think this is very, very important, which looks at the participation of how these communities are participated in the body, the democratic body in each of these in our countries, as well as in all the measures of human rights and sustainable development goals, and make sure that the practices of discrimination based on work and descent across the continents, and ensure that these practices are curbed and the rights which are specifically mentioned in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights are fully realized. I think this is one very important process, and I really urge all the human rights organizations, and I really thank Rosa Luxemburg Stiftung for taking this issue up. I think not many have really taken this up as strongly, and I think we need to encourage and appeal to all of them to take this and see that another further layer of human rights violations because of this very strong practice of discrimination based on work and descent is addressed, and open a whole new world of enjoyment of equal human rights for all, especially those women, children, and women and men who are working and who are struggling and who are being affected by this very peculiar form. Thank you very much, Tauqueer, and thank you to RLS.
Thank you, Paul, for your very, very comprehensive remark and your suggestion to how to approach the this topic on discrimination of work and distance. And this is required a lot of coordination, lot of solidarity, a lot of groundwork to connect each and every one, no matter who is working where and which institutions. And your suggestion, it's required a comprehensive approach, not only one way approach like this judiciary, budget, education, research, and whatnot to remove and get justice of those communities. So we still have 5 minutes time. So I will open for anybody, any panelist want to add in 1 minute. Last comment are most welcome, but only 1 minute. You have to take care. Pirbhu, you want to add anything from your side for last observation, but precisely for 1 minute.
Yeah, thank you, Tauqueer. Tauqueer, I was just thinking, what the Paul has mentioned, to work at the, the macro level, that how we can, take up this issue. But I would just like to, to share something at the micro level, like within the country. As I remember, I was doing one of the study in 2020-21. That was, the Dalit justice defenders, right? Those who are the Dalit defenders and their rights and what challenges they are facing. So we had a number of, the interviews with the Dalit lawyers. And then, we came to know that in Pakistan, particularly, when we talk about the access to justice, then, in one of the province, we couldn't find any single Dalit lawyer, like in Punjab. But in Sindh, we have the dozens of the lawyers and 2-3 judges who are in this judiciary. And what the challenges they are facing, the lawyers, they said the upper caste, and the Muslims, they are reluctant to hire our services. And mostly the communities, they shared that, the people from the other caste, they are hesitant to take up our cases. And the reason was that because the Dalits are with poor background, so they cannot afford the fees. Therefore, the one of the idea that came that we should also invest in the youth for the legal education, because access to justice is quite important. Dalit has so many human rights challenges which they are facing every day. And to get the justice, of course, the Dalit themselves, they feel comfortable if they have their own, the Dalit lawyer. But for the certain cases, the sensitive cases, again, they need a support from the other caste, the upper caste, there's moral support. but at least we should also look into this area. Those who are the organizations are investing in the legal reform or, you know, access to justice, they should also explore this area and should have a, you know, number of the Dalit lawyers within the country, so at least they can hear and take up their issues and fight their cases in the judiciary. Thank you.
Thank you, Pirbhu. There's one question also in the Q&A box, so I will just, you know, answer. Our friend is asking how can make global synergy for this question of community affected by work and dissent. So I will just, you know, answer. There's a global forum like Paul had discussed, global forum on community discrimination and work and dissent. So one can also join and this forum, and if they can write to Paul Divakar and an email given there on this G4 network, so they will able to make their suggestion for any countries and any communities across the globe. So thanks a lot for your question, friend. We are almost you know, going to end this session. Alima, Paul wanted some last minutes comments. So over to you, Paul.
Is Alima or Annamaria saying, or after that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Very brief.
Yeah. Okay. I would like to conclude with this one article of the Universal Declaration that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. This endorsed with reason and concise, and this should act towards another in spirit of brotherhood. And this Article 4, that no one shall be held slave-free or servitude. And these are what we advocate for as rights expert for the Global Forum of Communities Discriminated on Work and Dissent. And thank you. And it was a pleasure being in this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Alima. Annamaria, you want?
I would like to just express my gratitude for being here today. Like, it was a pleasure. And I think, like, we spoke, like every single one of us, a lot about the discrimination and everything what is happening in our communities. And it's just important to not forget and not be tired of fighting, like still keep going and get everything what we are asking for. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I totally echoing with you all. Paul?
Yeah, very quickly, I think you mentioned it very briefly. I would like to reinvent, especially as we are now here and listening to all the discussions in COP in Dubai. I think we should not forget the communities discriminated on work and dissent in that entire area of environment and the whole loss and damages and the disaster and the whole climate justice. I think, you know, one must keep in mind that these communities are at the front end when it comes to bearing the brunt. And then they are not being addressed in the core, whether it's in the thing. And also, some of us have not sufficiently have the means and resources to be able to also actively engage. But I think an appeal to all those who are speaking on our behalf and who are raising these concerns, that make sure that the concerns of the communities who are further marginalized and who, on the other hand, have been invested so much of their life and livelihood in the protection of their environment are definitely an active part in these negotiations, and their concerns to be taken. And this is an appeal as the whole world is looking to the kind of debates that are going on in COP. Thank you very much, and really appreciate the time and space that you have given for this particular aspect of communities discriminated work and dissent across the globe. Thank you, Tauqueer.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks a lot to everybody. This is a great to interacting all of you on behalf of RLS Delhi office, and also many thanks to Paul and Pirbhu, Alima, and Annamaria for participating. This work is very important, and our next session is going to from South Africa, and I will just conclude by saying the work of larger social justice and human rights is important. So the work of Dr. Ambedkar, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Desmond Tutu, and it will be continue. We have to commit of this important day. So I will end here, and I will hand over to our South Africa colleague.